begin, the first thing you want to figure out is where to start. I'm choosing to start on the shadow, and the way I find out where the shadow starts is by counting up the squares. As you can see, I'm on square 5, and then from there I need to figure out where the line of the shadow starts and where it ends. It starts in the bottom left corner, and it ends towards the top, but not towards the corner, a little bit to the left-hand side, almost to the middle of the square. When figuring out where a line starts and ends in each box, I like to put little dots first, and then I connect the dots with the line, whichever shape the line is supposed to be. From there, I just look at the relationship between the line of the value to the grid in order to figure out where each line goes to create an overall shape. This is super important because without using the grid, your proportions will be off. You have to trust the grid. As I continue, I want to remind myself that I'm looking at the lines of the value and not what the actual shape is. So yes, I'm currently drawing the shadow. However, I need to remember that this is my number 2 value, and that's the value I'm creating. This is especially important when you start drawing what would be your eyes, your nose, your mouth. They are details, however, they are also values. And just remember that you're creating the overall shape of the value and not the image itself. Now this method does take some practice, so it's okay to be confused or not knowing where to go next. Just try your best, see what happens. You can always erase what you don't like, but just follow the lines of the values. What I've found to be super helpful is when I'm creating and I'm drawing my actual lines of my picture is that I like to label where my values are on my piece of paper. It kind of gives me a better idea of where I'm at, what shapes I've just created. So definitely remember to label your values throughout the composition as you continue to work. Do not wait till the end. I totally understand that this looks like a topographic map. It doesn't look like a person when you're drawing it, and that's completely okay. You just have to trust the process. So as you continue along, I've had students say, I look like a zombie, this doesn't look like me. Just trust me, it will look like you once you put in the values. Right now, it's just a line drawing with a bunch of lines and numbers, but once you start adding in your paint, it will start to actually come together. So starting off on day 2, it was actually really difficult for me to figure out where to start and where I'd left off. However, you will be drawing this usually back to back or with a day or 2 in between, so it should be easier for you to get back into the swing of things. I chose to work from bottom to top, so working with my arms and my shirt and then working up to my face. It's really up to you where you want to start. I just find it easier to kind of get the practice on the lower portion before having to work with the facial proportions. So I got done doing like the outline of my face, my hair, my shirt, my shoulder, and now it's time to actually go ahead and start putting in what would be my forehead values, my eye values, my nose values, etc. And the biggest thing I can tell you again is to trust the process. Don't second guess where you're putting lines. You just have to look at the relationship between the values and the grids, and then from there, just draw them in. Don't second guess yourself. Don't try to fix it to think of what you think is best. Just trust the grid. And as you're noticing, my nose isn't actually drawn to the shape of a nose. It's created by these values. And again, just remind yourself that once you put in these values, it will come together and look like a nose, but at the time being, it is a bunch of lines. Now, the eyes are the trickiest part. They really are mostly like amoebic looking shapes. You just, again, have to figure out how to simplify the shape the best you can without compromising what the actual shape of the eye is. And you can go back and forth kind of fixing things. I did that a few times, especially with the first eye, just trying to figure out, I have a pupil, I have an eyelid, I have some eyelashes, and how do I make it look as similar to the picture as possible while still making it look like an eye. Students have found that teeth can be very difficult to draw, and I completely agree. I definitely look like a zombie when I'm drawing the teeth on my composition. However, you can either choose a picture that doesn't have your teeth showing, or again, you just have to try to trust the method and figure out what works best